Hello and welcome to Cricket News. I am Rahul Pandey and I have been joined by Abhishek Mukherjee. Hello, Abhishek da.
Mm. Hi.
Abhishek da, we're live, yeah.
Yeah.
Abhishek da is probably busy working on some of the copies for our website as well. You can read some of his nice pieces on the website as well as those from our other writers at cricketnews.com. Well, usually we'd convene here and talk about the game that is in hand, the players, the tactics, the fun stories. But as of today, the developments in Manchester have been very different. Just a couple of hours ago, news came in that a member of Indian support staff had tested positive, and the details that have followed as of now are what we're going to share with you, and then we're going to talk about whether the test match itself is in all probability to be called off. So as I told you, a member of India's support staff in Manchester had tested positive for COVID-19, and the team had cancelled their training session, which was scheduled for today afternoon. All the members of the contingent were then asked to confine themselves into their rooms until further notice. And now, based on the reports that have come in, the member of the staff who was tested positive had helped a few players on Wednesday before he returned a positive lateral flow test. So now it's expected that the members of the Indian squad who were then made to undergo RT-PCR tests on Thursday morning will all return a negative test. That's what we are hoping for. And as of evening hours in India today, no official statement has been made by ECB or BCCI, so we're waiting on that as well. Now, this incident, of course, comes in less than a week's time when more members of India's coaching staffs were placed into isolation. So, Abhishek, your views on this, because it's kind of very much indicative of the world that we are living in right now. I mean, this is probably this is in all possibilities something that we cannot expect to not happen from time and now if we are conducting sports events or any events for that.
It is what it is. I mean, we
Yeah,
saw that happen during India's tour of Sri Lanka. Some net bowlers had to be drafted into the squad. That may
yeah,
happen again. I mean, I don't know. I mean, sitting here, all we know is some members of the support staff. I mean, some coaching staff were tested positive. Someone else also tested positive. So, yeah, if some cricketers test positive, I mean, the net bowlers will have to be drafted in. It is what it is. I mean, it can't be avoided. There is no. It is not that there are multiple options and we get to
yeah,
pick and choose. We
yeah,
just have to go with what the norm is, what the rules dictate, and follow them. I mean, there's not much to decide here.
yeah, yeah. We've also been joined by Sandipan Banerjee, and Sandipan, you must have heard quite a few things going around as well ever since the first reports came in of a member of the support staff testing positive. So, what's the procedure going on around right now? Can you explain the same to us?
Yes, so we have already know that we have understood that at Lords, first of all, some of the members of the Indian support staff were tested positive, and immediately they were isolated. But still, there are some support staff with the Indian team who were at that point tested negative, and they were allowed to, and along with the players, and that's why the day 4 and day 5 of the oval test went ahead as scheduled. But
Yeah,
since they have traveled from London to Manchester, there was mandatory once you're traveling between like once you reach a new venue, so the rule is you have to be tested. So in the
yeah,
first test conducted, I think one of the support staff has been tested positive, and he has been immediately isolated. And as expected, all the players will go through the same procedure. Now it depends. We are awaiting the results, the test results at this point, and I've learned that BCCI and ECB had some internal meetings.
yeah,
So actually, they are discussing the possibilities of what can I say, this postponing or canceling this test series. Like,
Uh, what can happen is I don't know, as long as if the number of Indian cricketers who have not tested positive is who have what no who have not tested positive is less than 11, So basically, if there are less than 11 unfit, COVID negative, you get what I mean, right? If the
Yeah,
count of
yeah,
eligible Indian cricketers eligible to take field is less than 11, the test cannot go on.
yeah,
That is,
No, in any way, in if someone like if one of the top three cricketers are tested positive, the test match will not happen because a lot is at stake at this point because we will have the IPL just after the test series,
that is
right?
yeah,
So
true.
yeah, so
And if
and
they test positive, they will be ruled out of some part of the IPL as well. Today is the ninth.
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. So plenty at stake at this point, and let's not forget
But
that India will be touring. India will be touring England next year as well. So they haven't. If they cancel this test series here, probably they will add few limited overs game in the next year too. So to for the sake of the for the commitment towards the broadcasters because all the home boards have some commitment towards the broadcasters some certain
yeah,
number of matches. So if the test match like what happened in the India series when England tour, right? England was supposed to play five test matches initially, but five test matches, three T20s and three ODIs. But later it went on to become four test series and two more extra T20s were added in the
yeah,
limited over series.
so
So we can see a similar thing happening in this case as well. Probably when next year India will come back to England, they will play two more series. But at this point, the chances of the going test match happening is hanging on us. I mean, I see 50-50 chance at this point.
yeah,
yeah, so essentially, it will depend on how many Indian cricketers are fit and who they are. You
Exactly.
can't
And
field
some of the
you
media
can't
reports are also suggest, yeah, some of
you
the
can't
media
field
reports have
11 bowlers.
some of the media reports have also suggested that some players are not in a position to play further in this test series because of
okay,
all this, testing and it happen. It can happen. They have been staying in a bubble for a while. They have been traveling for a while. So
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, most
essentially,
definitely.
we are 20 hours away from knowing exactly what is what.
Yeah, most definitely. And to
we'll get
our
a
viewers
we'll
who
get
have
a
just
decision
joined
by
us,
we'll get a
Yeah,
decision by tonight only. So
hopefully.
yeah,
basically, if the test match takes place, we'll get to know by tonight only. Right now in England, it's like 3:30 or something like that. So by this evening in London, we'll get a result.
We
yeah,
should,
yeah,
actually. I mean,
yeah.
but
And just for
that
the
also
viewers,
early
yeah,
stages of the IPL, I won't say it will put that at jeopardy, but in jeopardy. But yeah, I mean, some key players will miss the. Whoever tests positive is going to miss the early stages of the IPL as well. That is
Absolutely.
there. Even if
yeah,
we go by what 14 days, they will only be able to leave England on the 23rd, and then they have to go to the UAE, and then I can see them missing at least the first week.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they are found positive in the UK, then they have to go through all the quarantine rules in the UAE as well.
Yes, yes.
yeah,
No, but if they travel, if they test negative, that will happen only on the 23rd. That is the earliest. And then, even if they take a flight the same day, they will reach the UAE, say 23rd, 24th. And then there will be some rules in the UAE as well. They will have to quarantine there. That is probably a week. I don't know what it is if you have tested positive and got cured this month. Whether I'm not sure what the rules are, but they are going to miss some matches. That is for sure. Whoever tests positive at this point.
yeah. And it's pretty congested, the timeline. And this is what Sandipan, you and I also discussed during the Sri Lanka series, that the coming 3 months are just so congested for all the cricketers. And if we just consider what's to come in context with the scenario that we are talking about right now, I mean, most of the cricketers will be in UAE already for IPL. And for them to then move on to the T20 World Cup matches kind of seems like a smooth transition with respect to them traveling from another country altogether and then coming to play this mega event that is later on this year. But then again, we, as you rightly discussed, it's going to be jam packed. Even though if we are to take out the COVID-19 positive tests apart from the picture, just from a mental health perspective, and that's what Ben Stokes. I mean, earlier today, what we learned in the whole development of things was Ben Stokes also not deciding to be part of England squad for the T20 World Cup. It's a huge thing. I mean, for cricket also to embrace this feeling around cricketers that it's okay for them to not be in the right mental space to go out there and play cricket.
Absolutely. And
Absolutely.
it's not only in cricket, it's across sports, as we are
Definitely, yeah,
seeing more and more. I mean, Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, and I'm sure,
yeah,
I have a theory that this is likelier to happen to test cricketers who spend a lot of time alone, especially in, I mean, test cricketers are used to spending days alone, waiting in the. I mean, see, uh, a tennis match gets over and then you go out basically. Test cricketer actually, say, an opening batter gets out first over and then he has to wait until the end of the innings, technically doing nothing. So there are long hours of wait involved, and this is not just a test cricket, not in test cricket. This is something they have been doing throughout their first class career.
yeah,
So long hours of wait. That is that is the burden a test cricketer has to bear.
yeah,
At some point, it gets to them. It's supposed to. It's expected to. It's still better, but the fatigue also gets to them. And being in a bio bubble, see, travel and all that is fine, but travel and just play and stay confined inside a room, I don't know how for how long a person can keep doing that.
yeah.
Days, weeks, months, I don't know. I mean, I've never really been in that position. I don't know how whether I would have coped.
Yeah, and even if you look at a lot of players in this Indian lineup, I mean, they've been playing continuous cricket for so long now. We talk about the IPL postponement thing, but even apart from that, when once cricket returned, once IPL 2020 began, most of them traveling to UAE, then traveling to Australia, coming back playing against England, then IPL matches, then going to England now, and then this long 2 month T20 season with IPL and the T20 World Cup, and it just won't get over after that. That's one of the things that's been worrying me. When I saw the ICC calendar for the next 10 years, we have one major event at least for the next 10 years. I mean, the
Yeah.
players for them, and I remember, even I remember growing up in an environment where a World Cup was just a 4 year thing. Then came the T20 World Cup. We had this in between. Okay, we got used to that. We had the Champions Trophy. Now we have the ICC World Test Championship as well. And it's just becoming more like, is the sport not taking care of the players the way it should be?
Players need to be rotated. There's no other way. India did that actually. India did that. India did not do this deliberately, but India actually used test and I mean India actually used a second squad in ODI and for ODIs and T20s to Sri Lanka.
Yeah,
So why not do that already? Why not make that the norm? That
yeah,
okay, uh, unless you are I mean specialists are specialists. We can accept that Pujara is not going to play the other formats for India anytime soon. But even if you play multiple formats, why not rotate these players? The same players need not go on every tour. Kohli, Rohit, and Bumrah can be rotated. They can take breaks. And India have a formidable have the depth to do that. Not all teams do, mind you. I'm not sure whether some other teams have that depth, but it has to begin somewhere. If you play so much cricket, and the teams are going to play an absurd amount of cricket in the upcoming months and years, so there's no way out than other than rotating cricketers.
yeah. Sandipan, your thoughts on the same?
Absolutely, absolutely. India have done that. England have done that. So This is the way forward. I think this is even in the post-COVID era, we'll see because of the workload management thing. For example, if you are Bumrah, you'll play like you have been playing Test cricket in England before, then you straight away will be playing the IPL, then the T20 World Cup, then at home New Zealand will be waiting, and then straight away India will travel to South Africa for a long tour. And
I can
again,
see half the Indian
after
farm.
coming back, there will be a home series and the IPL. So where is the break?
Yeah.
Bumrah and Shami, the only two pacers who are part
India
of the.
basically what it means that India need to groom more all format
Yes.
cricketers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
this is going to be the trend. I mean, this is going to be the trend in
absolutely,
future.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
it will. I think the number of games won't go down, considering the
And,
broadcasting, broadcasting
yes.
commitments and all. So you have to develop more. The pool of player need to be more, I guess. So that's the way forward.
And England did that actually. England
Yeah,
fielded a
England did that.
replacement team against Pakistan, so it's
Yeah.
doable. I mean,
Especially in country, no, the problem will be for India, Australia, England. It won't be a problem, even for South Africa.
even New
But
Zealand,
when it
New Zealand are doing a competent job in Bangladesh. They lost the series, but they so most of their key players are rested, but they're trying to make a fight out of it. They are a decent side, but I'm not sure about the second
lower
half of
ranked teams,
the
exactly.
second
For
half.
example, West Indies, for Sri Lanka maybe, um, it will be very hard to sustain in this. For them,
Yes,
it will be very hard to sustain in this environment.
Yeah.
Even
but they have.
Pakistan can do that as well. Pakistan have a good, a large number, pool of players. But let's talk about West Indies. I mean, West Indies cricket, it has suffered a lot. Most of their top cricketers do not, feature in their international games often, apart from some ICC events. So how can they produce more cricketers who can sustain in this model? Bangladesh, for example, they have to produce more, cricketers who can sustain in this
Yeah,
model.
actually, Bangladesh are doing reasonably well. Bangladesh,
Yeah, but their core is the same, right? They are not playing exactly
uh,
that complete
yes, the
different
core
side.
is changing slowly, but it will still take some time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really like the new crop of Bangladesh cricketers, the youngsters, and the second coming of Mustafizur. He is back, probably better than where he was, even better and even stronger than where what he was a few
Yeah.
years ago. But apart from that, the youngsters are doing a tremendous job. Of course, they need to perform outside their comfort zone, but
Yeah.
so far they have looked very good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, we will discuss more on that and more on a lot of things going around with cricket in 2021. But before that, just for the audience and just for the people who just joined us, we are, of course, talking about whether the Manchester test and what's the situation around with a COVID test. A member of the Team India staff returning a positive COVID-19 test, and whether or not this test match should go forward. Well, as of today, if we talk about BCCI President Saurav Ganguly, he made a statement in a function, in an event in Kolkata, that we don't know if the match will happen at the moment. Hopefully, we can get some game. And as Sandipan rightly told us a few minutes ago, that there are discussions taking place between the two boards, and it will all depend on whether or not India there are players in the Indian camp who can feature in this second test. Of course, the Indian players who were tested, who had their RT-PCR tests earlier today, are expected to have the results of the same later, and we'll be there to tell you all about that. But once again, coming back to the discussion that was taking place right now about how teams will require depth, teams will require certain players to feature in different formats, and all of that also brings forward the importance of domestic cricket in 2021. I mean, we saw how the Indian structure has worked wonders with the number of players that we have in 2021. We saw a team playing in Sri Lanka, we saw a team playing in England at the same day, on the same day. So what are the kind of provisions that need to be taken care of as far as domestic cricket in 2021 is concerned, do you think?
Domestic cricket, is safer. It's easier to. I mean, you just huddle. Ideally, I would like to see how they pull off this one, but at least you can control the cricketers. I mean, you can control the biosecure bubbles better. But then the problem is India has so many teams across the nation that it poses a further challenge. It is not that you are like Australia, you just have 6 teams. It's not
Yeah,
that. I mean, there are 40 teams, and I'm just talking about the. This is this. For when I say 40 teams, I'm just talking about the senior men's teams.
yeah,
So apart from that, there is there are 40 women's teams, and then there are the age group teams. They will also be playing. Remember.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, this is going to be a serious challenge. BCCI, I think, have changed the format of the domestic. They have increased the number of groups so that the number of matches is less. But okay, so basically, if you have 5 groups, you can put them in 5 cities, and essentially have 5 bubbles. You don't need a lot of bubbles.
Last year, BCCI did a good job of hosting the Syed Mustaq Ali and
yeah,
Vijay Hazare Trophy, and there is not players actually traveling between cities, and there is not a single COVID case.
Yes.
So
yeah. And that was
BCCI did
before
a
the
wonderful
England
job
India
last
tour.
year. Yep.
That was kind
Yes.
of a prep for BCCI as well, moving forward in organizing cricket in this pandemic era. But going ahead, we are of course talking about Manchester as well. And before we come back to what the trip has been so far for India, that is keeping in mind that this test match happens or not, we are going to talk about how this trip has been for India. But before that, there is another interesting update that we weren't able to talk about yesterday, strictly because we weren't on live yesterday. We are here today and we can talk about it now, which is India's T20 World Cup squad. And quite a few surprises right there. I mean, I was surprises to say the least, but quite a few names not added to the list that caused for a bit of a discussion. Quite a few names added to the list that caused for a bit of discussion, but that's just Indian cricket, isn't it? What surprised you the most in India's 15 plus 3 member squad?
The exclusion of Prithvi Shaw.
That is a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So India's current squad does not have a cricketer who can go after the ball from the first ball of the match.
Yeah.
That is what Shaw is capable of. Probably better than anyone in India. Basically, go over the top from the first ball of the power play.
Yeah.
But we saw that in the IPL as well. But I think that is something that may go on to hurt India. The rest,
Yeah.
it was.
Abhishek, we're not able to hear your audio. Yes.
Better?
There's a little bit of disturbance there. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah, it's better now.
Okay. So whether the decisions regarding the spinners is right will depend. I mean, we can see that. We'll see that during the IPL who does better, whether
Yeah.
the pick spinners are doing better, whether the ones that did not make it will do better. That we can see during the IPL. I mean, that's a matter of time. But the omission of Shaw is really surprising.
Sandipan, for you?
I think the selection of Ashwin. I mean, I tweeted about this last night. I think it is a wonderful call. I mean, I know that because they picked Ashwin because Washington Sundar is probably not available, but I think in one of our one of our previous podcasts at cricketnews.com. I think at that point we discussed about this, that some, because India like to use off spinner in the power play. So someone like Ashwin,
Yes.
who has a dusra also, because Washington Sundar doesn't have a dusra. So it is very easy for a batsman, especially for a right-hander, to lining up in the power play. But I think against Ashwin, it will be a tough ask. So always a better. I mean, always a better option playing Ashwin ahead of Washington Sundar. So that was a wonderful call. And so Rahul Chahar. I think the way they trusted, the team management trusted. I think there is some input from Rahul Dravid and the think tank which went to Sri Lanka. So there was some
Yes, yes,
input.
of course.
The, Rahul Dravid of the selection. The selection of Barun Chakravarti was bit. One can say that Deepak Chahar was probably not in the first choice team, but Barun Chakravarti is. But I
The
guess
Banerjee
I guess
is slightly intriguing because I don't know. I mean, see, when someone
it's a
like
backup for Ashwin. It's a backup
Ajanta
for Ashwin.
Mendes came about, when someone like Mendes came about, the mystery, the novelty was there because nobody had seen him bowl in domestic cricket. International cricketers were not expecting someone like Mendes. They took time to figure out what Mendes is like.
Yeah.
I just gave an example of a mystery spinner, but Varun Chakravarti's IPL videos are there. Half the cricketers have played him. They have been analyzing him. They have been the video analysts are out there already. I'm sure of all the other nations that are supposed to play India. They are picking up. They are checking his grip, his release points, everything. What means what? The teams are preparing themselves. So I
Yeah.
don't know whether the mystery spin concept is. I mean, once a player has played so many matches that have been video recorded, I don't know how far the mystery element still remains. That remains to be seen.
Yes,
Yeah.
but we can take the example of Hasaranga as well. Like
Yes,
we
of course.
we all know how Hasaranga bowls, but still Indians struggled against him, right, in the Sri
Yes,
Lanka
yes.
series.
Uh,
So I guess Varun Chakravarti. I think they picked Varun Chakravarti because of backup of Ashwin.
yes, that is possible.
I cannot see any other reason why they picked Varun Chakravarti ahead of Deepak Chahar. And also we all know that the standby players will also travel with the team, right? So any time at any point they can come into the first main squad, and Deepak Chahar will be there in that team. So the team management just took a risk, because if some Ashwin, we are living in a strange era right now, right? Right. If so, basically, if like before the match, Ashwin tested positive, and India want to play finger spinner off spinner, Varun Chakraborty will be their choice, right? So I guess this is probably the only reason why he was picked. But overall, the selection of Ashwin was very impressive.
Yeah. And so, for the viewers who have joined us, we are obviously going to tell you that the topic of discussion for us, the main topic of discussion, the story of discussion was a member of the Indian support staff testing positive, COVID-19 positive, and that the Manchester test might as well be called off. But before that, and now finally moving on to our concluding element of this live. What has this India tour of England meant to both of you? I know there's a test match to go. It still might go on tomorrow, but just before the final test, we were anyways going to ask this to both of you. What has this test tour meant to both of you? What have been your larger takeaways with respect to India, with respect to England, with respect to Test cricket in terms of this series?
I don't know. It's decent cricket.
We were expecting that sort of a short answer from Abhishek Da. He's always one for
A
prepping
top
up with these
cricket. And
short
I don't
answers.
know. I mean, this Indian attack, bowling attack, is something. Isn't it? See, when in my early days, when I was very young, uh, whenever India won the toss, I mean, you could see, you watch the match on TV. Whenever India won the toss, Azharuddin used to be the captain. Before him, there were others. Before him, there was Srikanth Venkateswar, Kapil Dev. Whenever India won the toss, the commentator came to the Indian captain, and there was a huge cheer around the ground. And Azharuddin, or whoever it was, opted to bat. There was a huge cheer that India
Yeah.
is batting. The scoreboard showed that and everything. Right now, I won't be surprised that if an equally loud cheer goes up if India is bowling.
Yeah.
That is the change that
Yeah.
has happened. I probably like to watch the Indian bowlers more than the batters at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's
India is
sort
still a
of
batting country.
shelled into
India
our
is still a
systems
batting
as well.
country.
Yes, still a batting
I
country.
remember,
This
yeah,
is
yeah.
changing. This is changing.
Even as kids, when we used to have that toss, there was no question. I mean, I remember no question being asked to the captain. It was automatically understood that they are going to bat first since they have won the toss. I think that can be a change in gully cricket systems as well across the country, where kids these days might be inspired by Bumrah, Mohammad Shami, Mohammad Siraj, and all these fantastic fast bowlers coming in.
The change has yet not happened, but the kids who are watching this generation bowl in
Yeah.
10 to 15 years time, they will think of India as a bowling country. Maybe in 10
Yeah.
years, maybe in 15, maybe in 20, but that change will happen, and this generation of bowlers will be responsible for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Is this, and now this obviously is the question that everyone is asked about, but where does this Indian pace attack stand in terms of the big ones in history? And we're not just saying that just because they have shined in this series. It's been a fantastic year for India. The tour to Australia, the comeback there, the tour to England, and they lead by 2-1 as of now. We talked about how many games they won between 1990 to 2010, and then winning those amount of matches in this short time doesn't says a lot about the pace attack in itself, who have contributed largely to these wins. So where do they stand in terms of cricket history, Abhishek?
Even the win-loss ratio won't tell you that amount. The bowlers will get the number of times the bowlers are taking 20 wickets, home or away,
Yeah.
is incredible. They may be losing matches. India may lose matches. That will happen. Both sides are getting bowled out, and India losing the but they are getting 20 wickets consistently. There's no doubt about that. This was never true for any Indian attack. Getting 20 wickets with this regularity.
Yeah.
Away from
So,
home.
away from home. Home to see, in the 90s, Azharuddin used to win the toss, India used to bat, and then Kumble used to be unleashed on Indian pitches. The opposition never had a chance.
Yeah.
And Azharuddin somehow won a lot of tosses, the exact opposite of Kohli.
Azharuddin is the only Indian captain not to lose any single home series, test series at home.
Yeah, Azhar had the formula. He had the bowlers. He had Tendulkar, and he won the test matches. He had the resources, but he made best use of the resources. He knew he had only one fast bowler. There was no chance of winning overseas. But he had the spinners and he won matches at home.
As far as the toss thing is concerned, I don't think many Indian fans will mind India losing toss, especially after the results that they've been getting from them. But Sandipan, what's been your key takeaway from this tour?
I think the performance of Rohit Sharma. I mean, the way he has transformed himself from his natural
Yeah.
stroke, from a natural stroke playing, flamboyant opener to a grafter. That is the most, biggest takeaway for not only for me. I think it's for Indian cricket. Indian cricket has found a new test opener in Rohit Sharma. I guess.
I think he
This
reached 1,000
this
runs.
avatar of Rohit Sharma will,
Yes.
it will be respected more and more in the coming years as India will play more test cricket, in Sena countries and abroad.
He reached 3,000 runs, and only 23 Indians have done that. We are in Indian Test cricket is 89 years old. Only 23 cricketers have done that. That is one every 4 years. So it is essentially a very rare, given how late he started, and given how, I mean, how late he actually started to open batting. His career took off very
Yeah,
late.
yeah,
If he doubles this amount, doubles this aggregate, reaches to 6,000, 7,000, I'll be very happy.
yeah.
Pujara is in 6,000s to give some perspective. Rahane is
Yeah.
not. Pujara is in the 6,000s. Kohli is in the 7,000s. So Rohit reaches the 6,000, 7,000s, despite the late start, that will be a lot of runs.
Definitely, definitely. And it's, I think, because of that backstory that it now seems all the more incredible, because Rohit Sharma in white ball cricket is essentially a gift that we always wanted to see pan out in the red ball format. I remember being all excited about him touring to Australia last year, just when we heard that he will feature in that test series. And it's been quite the journey after that as well. And so two big takeaways for both of you, and we hope that we get a few more. We hope that we get some cricket action as well. We hope that, and first and foremost, that all the players and the support staff are safe, and that they all return back to the normal, to being fit and healthy. And so we also hope to return back to talk more and more cricket with all of you. It's been pleasure chatting cricket with both of you today. Thank you so much for joining us, and to our viewers, thank you so much for joining us again for more cricket news and updates. Stay tuned to Cricket News.